We have a compilation of a number of different studies that expose the truth about sexual myths, and it's a lot of fun. I want to share my favorites with you. The first one has to do with so-called hookup culture and how people are supposedly obsessed with sex. If they're not having sex, they're thinking about it, or they're watching people doing it on a screen, obviously, or maybe in person, who knows. But anyway, I want to give you the numbers of how many people are actually having sex here in the United States. It's only about 57% of men and 51% of women ages 18 to 24. So that's usually the age group that people think are having sex like rabbits. But there's a big chunk that supposedly isn't having sex. Now, I should note that this is based on self-reporting, so who knows what the reality is. But I found that really interesting. No, it is. I'm actually not surprised by it because when you're married, you obviously have a little bit easier access. Not to say that you're having a ton of sex, as we might get to later, but when you're 18 to 24, well, it's a whole exercise to try to get laid. I mean, you got to go out, you got to try to find somebody, they got to agree. It's a whole, spiel. And are there years where guys don't get laid? Are there years that women don't get laid, don't want to get laid? Sure. And as the numbers bear out there, apparently a lot. And I like how that there are more guys not getting laid than girls, which indicates at least a couple of different things. So 36% of men reported having watched at least one pornographic film in the last year, which seems extremely low. Yeah, look, maybe we're in a different subset here, us liberals, right? And we, like, everybody's like, yeah, I watch porn, who cares, right? Maybe they don't admit it as much in other circles, or maybe they don't watch as much porn. But you're right, 36%. I mean, in the internet days, like in the old days when you had access issues, when it was tougher to get porn. Yeah. But in the internet, it's a click away. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Yeah. Sounds really low. It's based on surveys and self-reporting, so people might not be honest. Now let's talk about penis size. So what is the average penis size? Okay. One study that 8, 9, 10. Ew. One study that polled about more than 2,500 men on the internet found that the average penile length erect was 6.4 inches with a standard deviation of 1.2 inches. Now again, self-reporting, which by the way is interesting because I would assume that if a guy is asked on an internet poll how large his Johnson is, he would be like Cenk Uygur and pretend like it's 11
Wait
inches.
a minute now. Wait, hold on just a minute. That's crazy talk, okay? That number seemed pretty low to me.
Anyway.
Okay, no, seriously, if it's based on self-reporting, lower, lower. Okay, and it gives you a range of 5 to 7 inches, which sounds normal anyway.
So let me tell you what the reality is. So a lot of researchers will say that the best way to perform a penis measurement is by taking a flaccid penis, stretching it out as much as you can, and then measuring it. So there were about 15 studies performed this way, and here's what they found. Most had averages in the range of 4.7 to 5.1 inches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When you're not self-reporting, all of a sudden, little smaller. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I don't like that form of measurement, and I will never do it.
All right, okay, let's move on. So let's talk about how many calories you burn while you're having sex. Like, some people are like, yeah, man, you get so much exercise, you burn so many calories, you get hot and sweaty, right? And then, of course, people who are in the Olympics or any type of professional sporting event are advised not to have sex before a big game or a big match or whatever it is. But the reality is that you don't really burn that many calories, you don't really use that much energy when you're having sex. Estimates of how many calories are used up during sex range from 25 to 125. That's not a lot of energy, especially for an athlete. Sex is only considered a mild to moderate intensity activity.
Can I just say, of course, of course. Like, oh, that's not burning a lot of calories. No, you didn't. First of all, how long was it? Come on, let's keep it real. Okay, lower on the 25 range rather than the 125. Anyway, let's say you're a marathon, sexual beast.
Right.
Even then, it's not like you're not running laps, okay? It's a couple of different motions. It doesn't burn that much calories. People use it as an excuse. I know dudes who say, oh, no, Even when you do it by yourself, it burns a lot of calories. No, it doesn't, dude!
I remember reading an article that stated that every time a woman orgasms, she loses 60 calories. If that were the, I don't know.
That article was put out by dudes who want women to have sex.
Yes.
Okay, like, oh, no, really? You lose
Yeah.
60 calories every time
Yeah.
you do it, especially with me.
Yes. Now, okay, this is the part that I love the most, because there is this misconception that if you are married and you have regular sex, you're less likely to masturbate, but that's not the case. So one study found that people living with a sexual partner actually masturbated more. About 85% of such men and 45% of such women had masturbated in the past year, compared to a separate study which found that about 60% of men and 40% of women overall, including those married and single, had done the same in that period.
Only 60% of men had masturbated in the last year overall. If you say so. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, on the married men part, since I'm married, I will say no comment.
Of course people still masturbate if they're married or if they're in like a relationship with someone and they're having regular sex. There's like, it's the easiest thing to go to completion when you know your body and you just do what you need to do and you get it out of the way, right? It's like a process with another person. So
I love like the hard charging Anna who's like super intent on getting up early in the morning and going to work. That you describe masturbation as getting your orgasm out of the way.
No.
Oh, get that out of the way. Let's get on to some serious work here, okay?
It's not getting it out of the way. I don't know why I'm like shy talking about this, but it's like you know exactly what you need to do, so you don't have to work for it. It's just like bada bing, bada boom. Like I want an orgasm. This is what I'm gonna do, and it happens.
Yeah. You don't have to bother with a whole nother person. Yes.
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I mean.
No, I know. You're 100% right. Can I just say, I think the topic of masturbation is the single most uncomfortable topic on the show.
I know my mom's watching too.
Oh. And my dad's watching. Oh,
I
God,
don't do that, Mom. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, no, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. I'm in that 40% of men. I don't need it at all. Okay. Let's get out of here.